Thank you all for coming today. I'd like to call this meeting, call to order this meeting at 6:04. And we'll just take a roll call here. Judy, you present?
Present.
Ms. Monet? She's not here today. Present, Candace. Denise Woods, Vice President, are you present?
Yes, present, sorry, yep.
And Secretary Bianca Brown?
Present.
I'd like to thank you, Bianca.
You're going to go ahead and let Bianca do the roll call on the next one.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And now we'll move to item number 2, introduction of guests. I have to move.
Marcus Finley, Assistant Principal.
Oh, you know what? You're not. Can you ask her to share?
I'm not sharing?
No.
But I'm sharing my screen all this time. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we have Aaron, Genevieve, and Marcus. Thank you guys for attending today. Any others?
Dr. Renty.
Okay, we'll now move on to item 3, a review and approval of the agenda. If I could get a motion to approve the agenda.
I motion to approve.
And
That's Denise.
okay.
Thank you. And a second?
I second.
Thank you, Bianca.
Before roll call vote, before you do motion carries.
Okay.
So now we'll need any comments or?
No. Judy,
No.
do you
Oh, yeah.
approve it?
So go ahead and do roll call, Bianca.
Yeah. So Judy,
Yay?
okay. Monet Gascon is absent. Candace Branch,
Yay.
Denise Woods,
Yay.
and myself, yay.
Bianca, put Monet's in the absent, not abstain.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
So the agenda was sent out earlier. Now we'd like to move to for a motion approval.
Or just move on to item 4.
Okay. Item 4, an invitation to the
I'm
public
sorry.
to.
You were saying we did, so motion carries, I guess is what you were getting
Yes,
at.
I
Okay.
was trying to.
Mhm.
Can we approve the motion to carry, or do I? Is that the terminology?
Yeah, no, so once, can you mute Judy for me? And then mute you got it? Okay, yeah, so once the vote and you see that everybody's in favor, you just say motion carries. Bianca types in motion carries and then move on to the next action item.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right, so action item number 4 would be an invitation to the public to address the board.
Is there anyone that wants to address the board?
Is there anyone who would like to address the board at this time? All right, moving on to action item number 4. Myself, I'll go ahead and open up our meeting agenda, and we'll talk through some of those slides, and we'll leave some for a little later.
So are we moving on to reports?
Per here, it says reports, correct, and then 5.5, where we would then open up the meeting.
Was there a question? I'm sorry. Judy, can you mute?
No question. I was just stating where we were. It says,
Okay.
okay. So based on our next,
Yes. So moving on to item 5, reports. It looks like the first report is by you, Madam President.
yes, ma'am.
Oh.
Okay. So am I still sharing my screen?
Yes.
Alrighty.
I don't know what happened to presentation mode, but you're fine. We can see it. Go ahead.
Okay, I have to get this little thing out of my way. Sorry. There we go. All right, so our agenda items for today will be the LCAP presentation that will be handled by Dr. Renti in a few moments. We've got our book project, which is almost ready. Judy will talk to you more about that. We have our announcements for the Facebook group. Mr. Finley also has some digital data that he wanted to share with us as well. And then we have our summer event and the upcoming meetings for the next school year. Okay. And if we move back here, item number 5.2, Mr. Marcus Finley, this would be yours. And I'll go ahead and put that up. I don't have access to that one still.
I can go ahead and share my screen.
Okay,
Can someone just make me co-host?
certainly.
Okie dokie. So while I'm pulling that up, we recently took our STAR assessment, and the data reflects such. So I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to start with the school overview. Here's our most updated overview information. We currently have 641 students. We recently did our lottery for grades kindergarten through 5th grade. We have 23 of our 25 teachers returning. The 2 teachers are moving out of state with their families. We have grades TK through 6, where we serve in our campus. The average class size is 24 students, and we have a 51% population of FRL, which is free or reduced lunch. Currently, we rent a space from the Great Methodist Church, and we are very close to completing the final leg of our building, where we will host our SPED department and our interventionists, etc. Just an update for our year with regards to COVID. We had our waiver approved after submitting last year, and we had students come in for in-person instruction as of November 2nd, 2020, where we offered parents 3 options. And those options are a hybrid schedule where we had A and B tracks. Students would come to school from Monday through Thursday every other week. We have an essential track for parents that are essential workers. Students come to school Monday through Friday. And we have a distance learning track for students whose families aren't comfortable with them being in person just yet. Some of the protocols we included throughout the school year and are still present are sneeze guards, physical distancing, hand washing stations, health screenings daily, temperature checks upon arrival for staff and students, ongoing disinfecting of high-touch areas throughout the campus, and isolation rooms for students or teachers exhibiting COVID symptoms. And we are still practicing no sharing of resources. With regards to our student demographics, we have an 18% white population, a 7.8% with 2 or more races. We have approximately 24% of African-American population, a 1% Filipino population, and a 45% Hispanic population at our school. With regards to the specific student groups, we have 6% of our students being English language learners, 51% of our students are socioeconomically disadvantaged. We have a 1% homeless population. Oh, I'm sorry, this thing just does what it wants. We have a 1%, wait, where am I? 1% homeless population, and a 36% is categorized as other. With regards to our financial update, I'm just going to leave that on the screen so you can take a look. Dr. T can jump in and share a few pointers if you like.
Sure, I don't mind. So basically what this is showing you is a 3-year projection. And so you'll look at year number 1, that's the close of this year. The total revenue is about 7.5 million. And then you can see subsequently, it looks like the numbers go down, but that's actually not true in that we do have additional funding of about $2 additional million that are going to come in. And it's basically COVID funding. It's just not reflected in the budget yet. So, but we do see, you know, we're looking at a 7 million strong in terms of revenue. You'll see the total expenses on the next line, and then you'll see an operating income. And that's really what you want to look at here. Operating income, you see that at the end of this year is 228,000. I believe it's up to 300,000 now. Next year, we're looking at 88,000, but remember, we still have another 2 million coming in that's not reflected in the budget. And then you can see in year 3, the operating income of over $400,000. So that's a pretty hefty operating income based on the size of our school. And I say it's hefty because if you look at the fund balance, which is that last line, which is the percent of expenses, this is basically how much money the school has in reserve. The recommendation is that you have 5% of expenses in reserve, and you see reaches at 23, 25 in year 2 and 31% in year 3. So the reason why we have such a strong reserve is that we're looking at making permanent either the buildings that we're currently in or looking for a permanent relocation. You know, we don't know what the future holds in terms of like the growth aspect for the school. There's a great possibility of our moving to 7th and 8th grade. And so obviously we want to have the funds in the bank to be able to do that so that we don't have to go into debt in order to add on buildings if necessary. That being said, we are looking at the possibility of using some of the funds next year for enlarging 2 of the classrooms, which would be 2 of our 1st grade classrooms. Other than that, that basically that's our nitty gritty of the budget overview for the next couple of years.
Alrighty, thank you so much. We sent out surveys to students, staff, and families, and we have some results to share with you with regards to the specifics that we received from the surveys. When we send out the surveys to our parents, 60% of them said that they strongly agree that REACH provides a high quality education for their kids. 30% agrees that REACH provides a high quality education for their kids, which gives us an overall percentage of 90% of our families being satisfied here at REACH with regards to receiving a high quality education. With regards to REACH being a safe environment for their kids, 62.4% of parents strongly agree that we provide a safe learning environment. 35% agree that we do, overall, 97% of our parents have reported that we have provided a safe learning environment for their kids. We surveyed the 4th through 6th grade students, and one of the questions we asked them was, do you like REACH? 84% of them said yes. 8% said sometimes. 5% was like, I don't know. And we had 3% that said no. We also asked them some other questions, and we also left some open-ended spaces so kids can leave their takeaways as well. And we have highlighted some that stood out for us in yellow. Some of our students said they wanted us to have a 7th grade so they can stay longer. They also wanted to know, how do we come up with fun games and stuff, and how do we get the best teachers for our school? They also wanted to know as well, a lot of them kept asking, can we go up to higher grades, because they really don't want to leave and they wish after 6th grade, there would be a 7th, 8th, or even 9th grade. They said, I would like Rich to know that I enjoy coming to school because people are happy here. So it's evident that our kids like our school. They want us to go from elementary all the way probably to high school. And they tell us that they are happy. Here we have, sorry, my thing is this screen with faces just all over the screen and it's not moving. Here we have some more data as well. Students said, I'd like Rich to know that this school is different from any other school. Again, they're asking for higher grades. And a kid said, this school changed my life. And I have 3 months left, so I will miss you guys. Here we also have some more data from our survey. One kid said that I went to another school and it never had things like house competitions. This school is the best I've ever had in my whole life. Another kid said, Reach, thanks for being so much fun and nice to me. You make school really fun for everyone. One kid asked, can we have a pet day at school? One of our 6th grade students says, I want them to know out of all of my 6 years of coming here, I've always been treated like family. So not only do they see this place as a school, not only do they feel happy, but they feel like they are part of a bigger family when they are here on our campus. With regards to student outcomes, we recently did our interim assessment, which we administer 4 times per year, one at the beginning of the year, one at the end of the year, and 2 in between the year, just to see our students' progress from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So we are actually starting the end of the assessment tomorrow, but we want to present to you the data that we received from our 3rd round of assessment, which happened at the end of February, early March. We take the STAR assessment, which has 3 different categories. The STAR Early Literacy Assessment that is used for kindergarten, the STAR Reading Assessment, and the STAR Math Assessment that is taken by kids in kinder through 6th grade. This is a scale we use to see where students fall after completing the test. Students that are proficient, which is where we want all of our students to be, are in the blue and the green. So blue means you are on level and green means you are at or above benchmark. Yellow means that you're almost there and red means that we have some work to do. After taking this assessment in ELA in March, this is what the data received for grades 1 through 6. Again, blue and green combined are our proficient students. So you can see across the board, over 50% or more of our students are proficient in ELA in all grades. When we look at the students in red, it's mostly consistent across the school. So we have done a great job this year in the middle of a pandemic with ELA. With regards to math, this is what our data revealed from 1st grade through 6th grade. Again, blue and green being proficient. If you look closely, you will see that from the lower grades, most of the kids are proficient. And as we go up to the higher grades, that's when the way becomes more challenging and we see a decline with regards to proficiency. And later on, we're going to talk about some of the factors that have contributed towards our learning loss in math this year.
Mr. Finley, if I may ask, the ELA scores are what we are seeking. The scores you showed before are satisfactory on the previous slide.
Satisfactory in what content, in what context?
I guess that's what I was asking more or less. It looked like, I thought you had mentioned that those were improved scores for
No,
ELA.
we had a little bit of decline in ELA this year, but we are satisfied with the performance throughout the pandemic. So we didn't see much learning loss in ELA. We are still pushing for greater achievement as always, as we do every year. We raise our bar, but we were happy to report that for the most part, it remained somewhat consistent. So we didn't really see that much decline in ELA. So we are happy with both our math and our ELA scores,
Okay.
but there wasn't much decline in ELA.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Here we have kindergarten because they take somewhat of a separate assessment. They have both math and ELA combined. We have 2020 compared to 2021 this time last year. We see that we didn't have any students in the red last year, but we have 7% this year, which is okay. We are going through a pandemic and we are still proud that over 80% of our students in kindergarten are proficient or were proficient in their exam in March, because it could have been worse. So we are proud to report that our teachers are going strong and they're teaching, and kids are still learning, whether it's at home, on campus every day, or every other week. With regards to the ELA comparison from 2020 March to 2021 March, we see that there's a slight decline with the percentage of students that were above proficiency, which is a green. Also a slight decline with students that were above, that were proficient in blue. And just a little wider gap in the students that are in the red. But overall, the comparison is somewhat consistent. I think it is an 8% decline in ELA overall. With regards to math, when we compare to March last year, we see that there has been a decrease in proficiency level when we calculate the green and the blue combined. And we're going to talk about math in a little bit. When we dug into our various student groups, the bars below show the proficiency rate for each particular group. So we have our English learners at a 50% proficiency rate, our socioeconomically disadvantaged students at 55, our students with disabilities, which is our SPED students at 40% proficiency in ELA, our African American at 52%, our white students at 73%, and our Hispanic students at 62% proficiency in ELA. Going over to math, we have our English learners at 41%, socioeconomically disadvantaged at 37%, our SPED students at 27% proficiency, African American 41%, our whites at 53%, and our Hispanic population at 42% proficiency in math. So here are some key takeaways that we had after reflecting on the data. With regards to the ELA performance being consistent across grade levels, we considered the fact that we were able to facilitate a summer professional development session or summer professional development sessions for our teachers in ELA. We also purchased a new ELA curriculum at the beginning of the school year. We consistently ran monthly data meetings, and these data meetings included reteach cycles that teachers would execute in the classrooms after each data meeting. So this helps us maintain our ELA performance. With regards to the learning loss in math, unlike ELA, we weren't able to provide our teachers with a math summer PD since our facilitator couldn't come on campus to provide such for us. We also had to cut our math blocks into more than half of what it usually would. So students are not given as much opportunities to practice as they usually would in a regular school year with the regular math block. We have also seen some challenges with math because of the hybrid facilitation. It's really hard to see students showing their work over the computer at home. And also, if they're online, it's really hard to get them to show their work. We use show me boards, and that's one strategy we use, but we know nothing is as great as having our students on campus. We continue to implement our Singapore math approach based on a build, draw, write model. And due to students being home as well, we had a limited opportunity for building. There he goes. With regards to our student groups, we realized that the white students outperformed the other student groups in both ELA and math. We also noticed that all 6 groups performed better in ELA. We also realized that the students with disabilities are the lowest performing group in ELA and math. And we also realized that the English language learners, African Americans and Hispanics are performing near or at the same level in math. Some things that we are doing to strengthen our data consistently is offering after-school tutoring for our students. We are offering free math tutoring as well. We have monthly data meetings. We consistently progress monitor our students' data to see where we can improve. We have our interventionists at school provide tutoring sessions throughout the day as a form of support for our students. We also facilitate small group instruction and pull-out sessions. Administration provides teacher observation and feedback, and we provide our teachers with professional development throughout the year. Do you have any questions?
I had some questions. Thank you for that presentation. It was really good. One question I had was about the for the disability percentage of students. Is that related to physical or just learning challenges? Or is it a combination of both? I think it was like 6%.
Sorry, I'm still interpreting. What exactly do you mean?
Oh, like when it just says the percentage of students that have disabilities, I'm just wondering, is that physical disabilities, learning disabilities, a combination of both?
It would be learning disabilities.
Okay, learning disabilities. Okay, and then I saw that 90% of parents were satisfied. I was wondering for the other 10%, because I'm A-type personality, are there trends there or things that we can do to bump it up? So next time it's 93%, or is that something that you all are looking into?
Yeah, we have reflected on the data and we leave room, there's always room for us to learn and grow. So, we try our best to make most of our families or all of our families happy. But, still we are going to get that positive feedback or constructive criticism that is going to help us implement whatever suggestions that we are able to meet the needs of the parents. So we don't see like any outlying trend per se, but the remainders that weren't 100% in, but we have different personality styles, we have different types of people, so we just need to continue working as best as we can to meet all the needs of our families.
And then the other thing I was just going to mention is on the data looking at the math scores from first grade to second grade, the percentage of students that kind of drop off or go into that red intervention from 7% to like 29%. And so I'm just wondering, is that something that is consistent across the district or the state, and or for us as a group here? It seems like that's a critical intervention point for our students. and specifically for our African-American students. And so I just wanted to know, like, is that normal to see that, or it just really stood out, the math scores, that the intervention. It seems like that's a pressure point that maybe us as a group, we might want to see how we can contribute.
Yeah, definitely. Dr. Ente and myself was even speaking about that today. And what I can say, it's not normally a trend to see that in second grade. We think the experience this year with COVID has definitely contributed to that. We'll also say that first grade has a lot of repetition that has happened in kindergarten. So we usually see like a strong correlation between our first grade and kindergarten data. We see somewhat of a shift as we go to second grade because the academics become a little bit more challenging. And then we also have our personal growth that we need to do as a school in particular areas as we work towards closing some of those gaps in particular grades. And we have those points on our radar, and we are aggressively working towards implementing necessary needs as we think about the next school year. I think you're on mute. Yeah.
I have one question too. I'll try to say this as best, but what does the data suggest for students that have, for lack of better terms, matriculated through the entire 6 years? If that makes sense, do you see an upward trend? Do you see that kids who have been at REACH from the beginning of time kind of performing better or worse, or do you not see any correlations there as far as, you know, maybe your grade 6 and 5 data points?
What I will say is that when we check in on our students who have gone over from elementary to middle school, that's a great question, Aaron said. What we see when we check in on students that have gone over to middle school, we always get great feedback that they are so much prepared and ready to handle that middle school content. So I won't necessarily say, I mean, I'm sure that there is some advantage of being here from kindergarten or TK all the way to 6th grade, but we meet our students wherever they're at and we try to bring them up to proficiency. So by the time they leave our school, they can say that we have set them up for success to tackle what comes their way in elementary school.
My question was more so focused on your data set for the 5th graders, for example, that have been at REACH since 1st grade. Do they tend to outperform the students who may have joined, let's say, only 6 months prior to, if that question makes sense?
I can jump in, Mr. Finley, on that. So, those are good questions, ladies. Thank you. So we haven't disaggregated the data to that point, not yet this year, but we have in the past looked at those trends. And so we've looked at like kids that have been at REACH 3 years or more, and how are they faring in comparison to the kids that just came. And so past data has shown there has been a correlation between kids that have been here longer, especially in the area of ELA and math, or especially in the area of language arts. And so we haven't done that data or disaggregated that data for a couple of years. One of the softwares that we use still requires us to do that by hand, as there isn't any longitudinal data that's available. But that is something that we're going into a renewal year next year. And so that's data we will be looking at intently to see all those kids 3 years or more, because as part of our charter, like, are we making a difference with those kids? And so that is data that we'll have next year. But kind of to Mr. Finley's point too, like, obviously, no matter where they come in, we meet their needs. But to your point, Candace, like, are we seeing REACH making a difference? And so we haven't looked at the data for a couple of years, but we intend to do that for next year as well. But Mr. Finley, as he said, I just had one of my students come in literally today. She's now in 7th grade. I said, how are you doing? And she said, I'm getting all A's and B's. And she was actually probably at a level 2 at our school. So we get that a lot where kids go into middle school and they're far more prepared than most. And that's in the area of language arts and mathematics. But yeah, that data is always important. We may even switch our software for assessments for the mere fact that we don't have longitudinal data. And when we need to look at that data, we are doing it literally manually. But good question.
Thank you for taking the time to answer that.
Yeah,
I too have gotten just such positive feedback from just random people that I talk to. My kid, he plays soccer in Eastvale, and a parent was like, "Oh, I've heard about Reach. It's in Riverside, right? Oh yeah, you guys are doing really great things over there, I hear." And I mean, I had never really talked to this person prior to, and they just had really great things to say. So I hope my questions didn't allude to that you guys weren't doing a great job. I think you are. I was just hoping to, kind of show that to folks that, like, once you're embedded in the Reach program, you see a upward trajectory, you know what I mean, with the kids.
No, absolutely. And I think that, and we understood your question fully, and it's a really good question. And it's something we have to answer, especially going into next year. Yep. Someone has a hand raised, it says.
Paula, do you have a question, Paula?
Hi, Paula.
Let me see if I can unmute
Oh,
you.
there you go. I'm so sorry. I just realized I was muted. I'm sorry about that. Hi, everybody. I had a question. I'm so sorry. I was running late. I had to work late today, so I got on late. But I came in the point when Mr. Finley, when you were presenting about the different surveys, and I just had a question. If you guys are going to be able to add like 7th grade, have you guys thought about definitely doing that? Did you have enough feedback from the parents? Because I know I was one of them that said, yes, I would love, because my daughter's in 5th grade right now. And if I could have her stay until at least 8th grade or even 7th grade, if you do add a 7th grade, I just wanted to find out how that was looking for, I don't know, the next year or so.
Yeah, definitely. We don't have any concrete leads as yet, but I know Dr. Rentley is working rigorously, and she's in the planning phase of seeking necessary information and guidance and opportunities to move up with regards to implementing opening a middle school. So that is at the front of our radar. We are just doing the groundwork that we need to do right now. So it may take a couple of years, 1 or 2 probably, but we have already started working on opening a middle school.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Do we have any more questions?
All right, I'll go ahead and share my screen again so we can move through the remainder of our agenda. Thank you so much, Mr. Finley. That was a wonderful presentation.
You're welcome.
All right, as we continue to move through our agenda here, we're at item 5.3, Dr. Renty with the LCAP presentation, which I will try to open here. I think
Okay, my presentation is pretty quick.
all right,
Mhm.
open link, here we go. I'll put myself on mute. Let me see if I can find a pointer. Nope. And you guys are able to see my screen?
Mhm.
Perfect. I don't have a pointer that I can find, but all right, Dr. Renty, if you'll just guide me, I'll try to click through this. Sorry.
If there's any way that you can go into presentation mode, let's see.
Yeah, let's see.
How do we do that? Why I don't see it as an option for you?
Yeah, me either.
Don't know what happened there across the top.
Yeah, I'm missing the border here.
Mhm. What about those little arrows on the side there up on the, well, let's see.
This
Yeah,
here?
No, go
No.
to the one below. Those little double arrows. Something happened with your, is that
Yeah.
nothing?
Those double arrows are gonna just show her her
Yeah,
stable
this
mark.
is my,
I was telling them next time to just do, let me see, I might have it up. Let me share.
there we go. I got you. I got you.
There you
Yep,
go. Awesome. Only because I can't see without it being enlarged.
for
All
sure.
right, all
Got
right.
it.
All right, LCAP presentation. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so basically the Local Control Accountability Plan, which we call LCAP, there are a lot of acronyms in education. It's a 3-year plan, and it basically describes the goals, actions, services, and expenditures to support positive student outcomes. And it basically addresses the state and local priorities, which I'll talk about in a minute. All LEAs, which REACH is one of them. So LEA is local educational agency. And that would be like a school district or a charter school, a single charter, or a charter management organization. It also could be the county office of ed, are all considered LEAs. So it allows us as these entities to share what and why. We've selected various programs in order to meet our local needs. And it also requires parent input, hence this presentation tonight. Part of the presentation would be Mr. Finley's presentation on data, and then my presentation on funding. Now, so this is our second parent presentation this year, and then we'll be sending a survey next week, soliciting your feedback and input as it relates to how monies will be allocated for next year. Next slide. So I talked about state priorities. So the state basically has 10 state priorities, and you see them all listed there. As a school, we can adopt the 10 state priorities, or we can add our own local priorities, and this is all based on student need. And so some of the priorities that we're still seeing as a focal point for us, we had a parent ask, we're at 90%. Yeah, great. But can we get that to 93, 94, 95% parent approval rating? And so you'll see us look at that data from our climate surveys and find areas of improvement, and we focus our time and attention there. So we most definitely are hoping to improve that percentage and that overall satisfaction rate. We'd like to get that. Our goal in our charter is a 95% or higher parent satisfaction rate. However, here, as it relates to student outcomes, where we see REACH has the largest need, I couldn't say biggest, would be looking at student achievement, which is one of the state priorities, student climate, primarily in the area of attendance. Implementation of state standards is just always something we're focused on, because we're obviously, if you look at, this is basically why we're here, to implement the state standards in the area of ELA, math, language arts, science, and student engagement as well. So those are the priorities that REACH has adopted. So we haven't adopted the whole 10 because they're not necessary, but those are our focus going forward, and especially as it relates to the LCAP. Next slide, please. You also will hear me talk tonight really briefly about the local control funding formula, or LCFF, and I will share my slide presentation on that just to show you the numbers. Basically, what LCFF does is it outlines how schools are funded. And so it shows you the state, the funds that we get only from state, local revenue, but also basically state funding at this point. So for instance, REACH has, based on our average daily attendance, we're looking at over 7 million in revenue for next year. Of that 7,563,969,000 must be spent toward improved and increased services for the student groups that I'll identify in just a second. And so again, these are those priority groups that are again our priority, a state priority. So for instance, we kind of lost our presentation mode. You can just press present on the right, upper right. Share and present. You see present mode upright. So right, you were kind of there. Yeah, go on the right. You see your picture, and then share, and then present. Down. You see it? Almost.
I'm back.
Oh,
If you need me to.
You don't see it on your screen? Are you able to push present? No? Maybe not.
You can also go to file, and then if you go to file, you'll see present as well.
Oh, file present. Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you lose it? You want me to share? I think I have it up.
She said her headset died.
Or what died?
Her headset.
Oh, you want me to pull it up, Candace? I can.
I can't log back on.
I can. That's, you want me to, I can present. That's fine. I think I can, I think I have share privileges. Let's see. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and share. I think we were at the LCFF. So we were basically saying that local, so then again, you have your state priorities and you have your local up priorities. So the state, the state also have student group priorities as well. So amongst the student group priorities would be our English learners, and those are students that are learning English as a second language, our low income students, as you can imagine. But then we've added, Reach has added, so amongst the student groups, we are also pulling down and focusing on them as well. So ELs and then our low income. The foster youth is also a state priority, but Reach such a small foster youth enrollment that it's not a priority here as it relates to the LCAP or LCFF. What we have added as a local priority group would be our African American students who generally do poorly on the SBAC and very poorly as it relates to attendance. And then based on parent feedback that we've gotten this year, you know, we do a lot of focus on those students that are not at grade level and closing achievement gaps, but we're having parents want us to spend more time around enrichment activities for those our students that we do attract that are GATE and high performing and advanced. And so we have also included some of the money will be increased services for those students as well geared toward programs. Well, that basically most of our money usually toward closing achievement gap, but we do have a little bit of allocation for our students that are advanced as well. We do feel like our programs, especially in the classroom, we teach high. And so we're always teaching to those high school kids and differentiating instruction, but there are ways that we normally add increased services or enrichment, but we wanted to make it specific to the LCAP this year. So just in a nutshell, and I'm going to land this plane, in previous plans, we started off a few years ago when we first started writing the LCAP, we had like 8 goals. And, you know, from increasing ADA, digital literacy, which was for instance, we've always had a goal of 1-to-1 correspondence as it relates to technology. So you'll notice we went from, if you've been around a while, we went from, you know, maybe 1 or 2 classrooms having a 1-to-1 to this year, we have second up or third on up for sure, have a 1-to-1 correspondence with Chromebooks. And so as we focus our time and attention and goals as it relates to the LCAP, we've been able to bring more technology in. And so anyway, you see our 8 goals. These goals haven't gone away, but what we saw was the LCAP has a narrative in which we have to speak to each goal, our actions, our services, and our priorities, and how we will implement and show increased and improved services for our students. We were finding a lot of redundancy. And so what we did last year, or back in 2019-20, is we took those 8 goals, condensed them to 4. And so goal 1 was academic and college readiness. Goal 2 is parent engagement, kind of speaks to that climate survey we were talking about. And then number 3, school climate, and then professional development was 4. We then, again, we're always looking at continuous improvement, and we actually saw other schools that had only 2 LCAP priorities, and we're like, we're still seeing redundancy. Can we whittle this down to 2? So we're presenting for the 2021 school year, the next 3 years, is just 2 overarching goals. Pretty much the subcategories are the same. It just makes sense so that we're not being redundant to just whittle everything down under 2 main goals here. And so you'll still see that focus on technology, our EL supports, our AA is African American student supports, professional development for our teachers, induction programs and coaching, anything that's going to impact the classroom itself. We're still going to make that a focus. We look at that data that Mr. Finley presented earlier, that drives our decisions. Student surveys drive our decisions. So when we have our kids asking to stay longer, we have parents asking to stay longer, then part of our renewal, what will be written in renewal as we go up for renewal next year will be a TK through 8th grade, no longer 6th grade. So we are looking at expansion, and this is basically us responding to parent need. That being said, that's our LCAP in a nutshell. You will receive a questionnaire next week. asking for feedback, and it's going to outline the fund for LCAP and asking you if you agree and would you like to see money moved over another location. And so your feedback is crucial. We're looking for parents. We do take your feedback seriously, and we incorporate that feedback as best we can as we go into each and every academic school year. That being said, I'm going to spend a quick second sharing. Let me stop share, then share again. I have some dollars and cents. Let's see. Let me just pull it up. Except it went bye-bye. Let's see, is that it? Yeah. All righty. So let me share in a nutshell the financial piece of it. So here's a summary that we're going to present to our school board on Monday. And this is basically what Mr. Finley had outlined. He's already given to you in terms of academic overall achievement rate. So if you can see here, this is whole school, a 95% proficient, 59% proficiency rate in academic performance in ELA. And then we see a drop in mathematics, 38%. Very different from last year's data. We did see math, as Mr. Finley said, take the largest hit. But the difference here, this is usually SBAC data, which only shows 3rd grade through 5th. This is showing whole school data this year, just that's one determination, one difference. What we noticed this year in whole data, looking at whole school data, is we don't see that achievement gap that we normally see on SBAC. And as you can see here, you'll see our social. So if you look at our overall proficiency rate of 59%, our low income kids who are the students here, they're at 55% proficiency in language arts, which is actually pretty high overall. Let me just put a period there. Math, you can see everyone's kind of on par. I do want to point out too, our EL students these are kids that are learning English as a second language. They performed at a 50% proficiency rate in reading and language arts. That's actually, actually pretty good data. And a 41% proficiency rate. They actually outperformed our average, our school-wide average in math. I want to show that on STAR, African-American students, and this is whole school, are at a 52% proficiency rate and with a 41 proficiency rate in math. And so again, in math, slightly outperforming the whole school data. So we don't see the achievement gap that we normally see. However, usually on SBAC is where we see our African-American students, we see a decline. Well, we have seen it for the last couple of years. There are some years when we've seen them outperform other subgroups. So that's why we have an AAPAC committee. That's why we focus on our African-American students primarily because of these reasons. So even though this data looks better and we look like we're closing the achievement gap, remember this is STAR assessment, not SBAC. And so we'll wait next year before we start making changes to our LCAP goals and priorities. Just in a nutshell, I'm not going to go into every detail, but this will be part of what Marilyn will send out next week, which will show these line items. And so here's the 563,000 plus thousand that we have to spend. And you'll see the proposed actions is additional technology in the TK through K classrooms, a one-to-one correspondence for 1 through 2, an overall spending allocation of 58,000 for tech. Still focusing on our EL kids until they're at proficiency, right? And so we have an LPAC coordinator, we have parent meetings and a test proctor at a 56%, $46,000 we're proposing in this category. For African-American students primarily, what we're trying to do is bring in more student parent support and awareness. Right now we have $2,500 in this category and about a $1,000 stipend for our coordinator. The reason why LPAC is so much higher is we do have now a 40% of one of our staff salaries is being dedicated to this particular group. We don't have a full-time or person on staff for APAC. This is all voluntary time, but you see Judy and I are here, we're all here. Mr. Finley's here. We just haven't allocated our dollars, but we're 100% dedicated to making sure this group and this student group performs. Moving on, but again, you can have comments when this comes out and say, hey, I want more money allocated here, and this is where we want to see this money go. So this is our proposal. You give us feedback and these numbers can change. As it relates to STEM-based project, because we are a STEAM school, we've allocated $11,000 toward materials and supplies, enrichment, and things like that. And here's where you see about $60,000. This is for those students that are advanced. We're allocating, normally you won't see this in our LCAP, but we've allocated $60,000 in robotics, leadership, creative writing, foreign language, GATE, AVID, band, soccer, and choir. So GATE and AVID are two things that we would like to bring to the school. Two initiatives we'd like to bring to the school over the next 2 years. Let's see. So again, 2 goals, but a lot of allocations under goal number 1. And you're going to see that ongoing data support. Mr. Finley talked about our data meetings with our staff. We have $160,000 here. Data, remember, so a rising tide could raise all boats, right? So when we're looking at data, we're looking at data for all of our kids. And we've dedicated like staff salaries to this, our time and energy toward mentoring and coaching and making sure we're increasing our overall efficiency rate in the classrooms. So $160,000, most of that is, like I said, towards staffing. And then the ending, this is finalizing goal number 1 of LCAP. And again, that overarching goal for LCAP, I don't even think I mentioned it. Sorry, I think I jumped into services. The goal here is academic achievement and professional development, goal number 1. The last item for goal number 1, item 6 is, and this should be a 6, not a 5. Is going to be executing those Common Core standards. Remember, we said that one of the priorities, state priorities, was to make sure you're implementing the state standards. And so this is a lot of money, again, being allocated toward curriculum purchases. So in grades kinder through 4th, we are purchasing new ELA curriculum. It's about $100,000, $150,000, $100,000 for ELA. And then the $50,000 for math curriculum is consumables. And if you're saying, why aren't you purchasing new curriculum for 5th and 6th? It's because we did that last year. And then you'll see a lot of money we give toward assemblies and pep rallies and things like that for our kids. So spending money back on our students. And so for goal number 1, we're looking at over $470,000. And then as it relates to school climate, although we still have our eye on the pulse as it relates to increasing that overall parent satisfaction rate and parent engagement on campus, right now we've allocated a lot of time and effort on attendance. And that's the only line item that we have for goal number 2 that we're proposing. $107,000 primarily in the area of staff, some $7,000 in incentives, but the other is primarily in staff funding. Because we saw we're seeing the attendance has been an issue, as you can imagine, in the midst of COVID. And we're very concerned going into the next year as to what our attendance is going to look like. In times past, as a charter school, our goal is a 96% attendance rate. I believe last year was a 94, which is dismal. I think the district's usually at least a 95, 95.5% attendance rate. So as a charter school, it should be higher. But what we find is that people, I think that they just see us as different, and maybe attendance isn't as important as it is in other schools. But obviously we get paid based on ADA. Kids aren't in seats, they don't learn. And so we need kids here and on campus so that they can learn. And so goal number 2 is primarily dedicated to that as such. So that's $107,000. And then it shows where that money is allocated. And then that would be obviously something that will be sent out with comments from you. And please, we would like to get your input as it relates to how money is spent, if you agree or disagree, and where you would like to see more money allocated. That is my presentation. I'll leave this screen open in case you have questions with regards to funding allocation. And then once we're done with that, I'll stop sharing my screen. Does anyone have any questions as it relates to what I've presented so far?
Dr. Renti, I did actually. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm speaking through the computer now, and I apologize about what happened earlier.
No
Under the 4B, you actually have it up there now with AVID. I was a student of AVID actually here in the Inland Empire myself, and I thought it really enrich my education.
Mhm.
But we had staff, right, specifically dedicated to the Avid experience, right? We had an Avid class and things of that nature. And it really became that safe place where I learned about college, quite frankly, as a first generation. And so, how would you be able to fund with only 11 or even 60,000, I guess, towards that? If you did move forward with those type of programs, how would you be able to fund the staff, I guess? Is that enough in that sector? I guess
Right.
you-
And what's wrong with what is wrong with my what's wrong with my math right now? Is it 111,000? I put 11,000. Yeah. So yeah, so it's a rollout. So we would look at next year training and then the following year bringing it to 4. The same thing with our gate rollout, right? It's going to take us a while to build that capacity so that hopefully by year 11, we're rolling those items out. There is an Avid for elementary school. And if we're going to go into 7th and 8th grade, we definitely want to have a strong Avid program. We have kids that are gate that we haven't been able to service as well. I mean, we do through other things, but to identify those gate students and then train our teachers. I'm kind of the mindset in elementary though, that I would like to present that a lot of those Avid skills to all of our kids, a lot of those gate skills to all of our kids, but then by 7th and 8th start to delineate a little bit more. But yes, 60,000 isn't a huge allocation. However, it's definitely a start and it's a rollout. And so, as you said, once we start looking at the full implementation, we're probably going to have to look at, implementing more or allocating more. I also want to say that, remember, we have a $7 million budget. This is only what we're coding to LCFF. And so those other line items that spill out on outside of this, we, cover with other funds.
Understood. Thank you so much. Yes, that does.
Yeah. Any other questions before I stop sharing the screen? Going once, going twice. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, and I will try to share again here. I shouldn't have any other issues. Well, I got about 50% battery, so, and we're a little over time, so we'll kind of speed through these next items, guys. And again, thank you for your patience as we move through them. So back here, get back to the meeting. Click the share button. All right, so now, Ms. Judy, we would like to move on to your presentation on the APAC book project. And then we will move through the rest of those slides and allow everyone to present their piece. Is that just the preview board? Ms. Judy, are you prepared to
Yes,
speak?
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And here's your slides.
Okay.
I'm gonna present.
Okay. Okay, mine is really quick and simple. Update on the book project. I did another project for Teacher Appreciation Week and got fully funded, so I was able to purchase 10 more books. So they should be arriving on Thursday. The spreadsheet was completed. Thank you, Candace, for taking the time of coming into the school, coding the books for me, creating that spreadsheet. So now when books come in, we can just immediately add them to the spreadsheet. We have 48 books now total when those extra 10 come. The questionnaire to go along with the book that's selected has been completed. The permission slip and the checkout contract has been completed, and I will submit it to Dr. Renty to read and approve that, so that can be added to the Ziploc bag with the book, and then we'll be ready to go. So on our APAC Facebook page are further instructions for any parent who wants to participate in basically kind of like a test trial of checking out a book, reading it with your family, answering the questions, and spending time having dialogue with your family on something new, something different in the collection of books that we've chosen. And that's pretty much it. When you go to our APAC Facebook page, you'll answer some questions, get accepted into the group. There will be a section in there already printed up. You read the instructions, follow the instructions, and then I will have a book either delivered to your student or at the desk waiting for you to pick up. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Miss Judy. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on. I'll take over this slide. So as Ms. Judy just mentioned, you'll have to, if you want to join the group, I think everyone on this call may already be in the group. You'll initially have to answer some questions. This is the background you'll look for, and we are on Facebook. So thank you for those who have already joined. And if you have any other questions, we can handle them offline. Our last slide here, well, we've got two more. I'm going to hand the mic over to Denise to speak through, if that's okay.
Yep, sounds good. So we are planning our summer event, which we've booked the day of June 30th, after folks are out of school and, you know, a week or two post, to have an ice cream social and book club gathering. So the plan is to have the time be around between 6 and 7:30. We'll be sending out messages and information on Facebook as well as Class Dojo and through text. We're looking for volunteers. So if anyone on this call or this meeting is interested in volunteering for this group, we definitely appreciate it. We're looking for, you know, maybe about 5 volunteers. If you're not sure today, just because of the date, for sure, check us out on Facebook. But we would really like to get our parents involved with this event because this is going to be our first one. So we want to have a good showing. Looking at about 4 stations or so for the kids to kind of rotate through. We're still trying to figure out what the theme is going to be and or what the books are going to be around. So more information to come on that. But the plan is at the end of the event to be able to give each kid, each student a book. And something that they can take with them for the summer until we meet again. So I saw someone in the chat who said they were interested. So thank you in advance. And we'll have more information on our Facebook page.
All right. And then I can kind of go over these dates. I mean, it's kind of here. These are going to be our next dates moving for our meetings, and then hopefully some more events in between these as the year rolls out and we're able to potentially meet safely more in person and things of that nature. So more details to come. Outside of that, that is the end of our slides there. Are there any questions, concerns, comments? If not, I'd like to move to item number 6, an approval of consent items. The meeting minutes, which were sent out before. If I could get a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
And a second.
I second.
And then Bianca, you'll go ahead and do the roll call.
Judy,
Yes.
Ms. Gascon, absent. Candace,
Yay.
Denise,
Yay.
myself is yay.
So, does the motion carry to approve the minutes from April? Motion carries. I think I'm telling you guys, not okay, and now we're gonna move on to item 7. APAC comments. Does anyone? Yes, this is just kind of an open forum at this juncture, Dr. Renty? Maybe not, okay. And then we'll move on to item number 8, meeting adjourned at 7:14. Do I have a motion to approve?
A motion to adjourn?
Adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
And a second?
I second.
And then when is your next meeting date? Is this the last one for the year?
This is the last one for the year. Our next one is September 16th.
Okay, fantastic. You can write that in. So the next meeting date is September 16th, 2021. Y'all did it. Man.
Woo!
Woo.
I got to learn my lines, Dr. Renty.
I mean, it's good practice and it's good to start, and you guys will be in a good position to do some things over the summer and then be ready to go strong, you know, as of September. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
We appreciate the involvement, and let us know how we can help.
Yes, I think we do need some approvals for the location and everything like that, and we'll work offline to get that stuff done. And for those willing to assist us, you know, we'll communicate more on Facebook as we move throughout the end of the year, and just use that as a platform to continue summer activities and things like that, and a way to stay engaged. Thank you guys so much.
Good job.
Everyone, yes.
Yeah.
All right, everyone.
All right.
Later.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.